But with Percy, and this sounds terrible, but it's almost like the trauma he's went through has made like humor and sass like his coping mechanisms. And so we see like that makes him like a very like relatable and just witty and funny person. And I think he's kind of easy to relate to because it's like everyone's been through hard things in their life. And I think like some of the funniest people are people that like don't have the best lives. Like most of the people I know that are hilarious are just like, or even shows, like the characters that were like the funniest always had the worst storylines. And you're just like, what on earth do you have to be laughing about? Welcome to the Point of View podcast. My name's Yosa.
And my name's Asada Haman.
And here we are today for another episode.
Yep, we're super excited to be here once again.
Yeah, so for today we're talking about a show and basically a book and a movie at this point that we really love. It's super popular. Episodes are coming out of it weekly. It's kind of like it kind of took over the internet when it very first came out. So we're talking about the Percy Jackson TV show, which we've been watching every week, kind of trying to.
Life has been busy during season 2.
We've been trying to keep up with season 2, but we watched all of season 1 and we've watched most of all of the season 2 episodes
that are out.
Yeah, so we thought.
But by the time this comes out, it's probably all out.
I think so. Yeah, depends on how many episodes. Maybe 8, maybe
I think
6.
It's 8.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But wish there were more, but unfortunately.
Oh well. But yeah, no, I think we had an episode a while back that we talked about. I think we said like some of the top worst books of movie adaptation, and we said that Percy Jackson was one of them.
The movie.
And we liked the movies. Like we enjoyed them. But from a book to movie adaptation, it's not good.
Not good.
And so Percy Jackson's, they announced there's a TV show. Rick is saying it's gonna be so like the books and everything. We're excited, and honestly, there are some slight differences, but I've really enjoyed it. It's high budget. They're doing well.
Yeah.
The acting's top notch. They're using actual children, and well, some of them are not children anymore. But
yeah, no, especially this new season.
But they tried. They tried. You can't fault them for COVID and the strike and all other
and
stuff.
just growing in general.
Yeah, but I think Percy Jackson. Like I feel like a lot of times people watch some stuff, and their favorite character isn't Percy. Now, maybe some people's favorite character.
Or like the main character.
Or isn't the main character. Sorry, that's what I meant. But Percy as a main character, I think, is so relatable and is such a good representation of, like, kind of all of us. Because Percy isn't this perfect kid that somehow has all these powers, or he had a hard life, but his hard life really didn't make sense. Like
it's like it really wasn't that hard.
Yeah,
it's
like he had struggles. He had ADHD. He had dyslexia. His mom was like kind of like he loved his mom. They were close, but there was just this distance. Like there was just so many things that he didn't understand growing up. And he was that problem kid, right? He was the kid that the teachers warned about. He was getting kicked out of every school. Like, it was just, maybe that's not relatable to a lot of us. I don't think how many of us are getting kicked out of school. But no. I think that it shows that he is not perfect. He's not this perfectly curated person, like main character. He has issues, and he's working. As he comes to learn about himself, as he comes to understand his true identity, he is able to like actually become better. He's able to actually grow. He's able to be more mature. And so I think Percy is I think he's a really good main character. I actually really like him and enjoyed watching him, reading him as a main character.
Yeah, and I think also another thing that really makes or breaks some of the main characters is like kind of the humor and personality they have, because sometimes, especially in a lot of like those high school-ish teenage shows we see, it's like the main character has this like stoic, like hero kind of complex, which like it's good, and it's like the weight of the world is on their shoulders, but it makes it hard for you to connect and like want to like almost be like this character. But with Percy, and this sounds terrible, but it's almost like the trauma he's went through has made like humor and sass like his coping mechanisms. And so we see like that makes him like a very like relatable and just witty and funny person. And I think he's kind of easy to relate to because it's like everyone's been through hard things in their life. And I think like some of the funniest people are people that like don't have the best lives. Like most of the people I know that are hilarious are just like, or even shows, like the characters that were like the funniest always had the worst storylines. And you're just like, what on earth do you have to be laughing about? But it's like, we see with Percy that he's just so like even though he kind of does have this weight of the world on his shoulders, he's still like himself throughout it. It's like you can still see flickers of his personality, even when they're being hunted down or chased down by, you know, whatever monster or whatever villain of the season. And so I kind of love that they do that Rick Riordan does that with his character, that it's like he's still just like a boyish, like, you know, funny comedic character, and that doesn't really change.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really interesting point that you brought up. That like the funniest people are typically the people that have gone through some of the hardest things in their life. And I think that the way that Percy was raised and the way that he didn't know about himself until he was a teenager, and you contrast him to other people in Camp Half-Blood, and like the way he acts, there is a very stark difference.
Yeah.
Like even in Camp Half-Blood, I know he found his family and he relates to people, but he's almost like, you know, that one like black sheep of a family. Like obviously they're related, like they're family and everything, but they're very different from the rest of the family. And I think that Percy is kind of like that in the way he thinks about things, in the way he respects the gods, in the way that he has insights on this world. And I think that has to do with how he was raised, because he wasn't raised knowing his identity. He's able to think about it in a different perspective that actually does help Camp Half-Blood, help Olympus, help just, you know, the world that they live in. And I really love that about Percy, because he's very different. I feel like either main characters, they don't know their identity, then they come to know it, and then they act weird or they change themselves.
They kind of like abandon that other part of themselves.
But Percy doesn't do that. He desires to go to school. He desires to have all these experiences. We're watching season 2, and the first episode that came out, Percy was so excited to hear about Annabeth's experience when she went to real school. He was like, "Did you go to Disney World? Or maybe it was Disneyland."
Disneyland, yeah.
It was Disneyland. Yeah. Did you go to Disneyland? Did you like do this at school? Did you watch this movie? I think it was Jaws. Did you watch Jaws? Like all these like things. He was just so ready for her to have these experiences, because he like that was a part of him, and he didn't want to abandon that. He wanted to share that with some of his closest friends. And I love that, because how many times do you see that happening with a character? Something happens to them and they completely change. A character, we were kind of talking about while we were deliberating what movies and TV shows we should talk about for this next season of this podcast. We were like, maybe The Arrow. But we decided not to, because we haven't actually finished The Arrow. No. She said she stopped at season 3. I think I stopped at like season 5. So we were like, we can't really talk about that. But something about the difference between him and Percy, I don't know why this came to my head, but like we see Percy, right? And maybe because it's the age, but Percy, he goes through this hard life. And currently, honestly, Camp Half-Blood's life is honestly worse. He's being like almost killed every time.
Yeah, literally.
Like everyone wants him dead at one point. But you don't see him like he keeps himself. He doesn't change. His character stays pretty consistent. But then you look at Oliver Queen in The Arrow, like yes, going through all that he did. I'm not even like trying to say that he's in the wrong.
No, he's justified.
He's justified, but he does change, right? He changes his personality, his self, everything. Everything is changed. And so I don't know. I just thought of that stark difference between main characters. I really think that Percy just stays consistent, and he's such a good main character and good guy. Yeah,
and I think it also helps when you have like that sense of belonging and kind of like found family, but family in a sense. Like you mentioned Oliver Queen, like he comes back, and even though his mom ends up being like the evil, like he was basically fighting,
but then she dies.
And then she dies, and it's like, whatever. It's just like you see like he has people when he comes back that try and rein him in, and in this situation it's so hard. But with Percy, it's like he has Annabeth when he comes to Camp Half-Blood. He has Grover his whole like life basically, that it's like he didn't even know this like satyr was looking out for him, and it's like he is. And then he gets
Jason.
Yeah. Who did? Ooh.
His brother?
Tyson.
Oh.
I forgot his name. I was like, I know it's not Jason. Yeah, Tyson.
If you don't know, on this podcast, I mix up names a lot.
Every time.
I don't know why.
Albert, Alfred.
Like, it's like the names sound similar, and I
guess Jason and Tyson.
I just go with it.
I can forgive that, but we see like
you couldn't forgive Albert and Alfred.
No, I'm sorry.
They both, it's like
Albert.
Al.
I'm sorry, Albert's such like a distinct name. Like, I don't know anyone named Albert like in any movie.
Do you know anyone named Alfred?
No, in movie or real life. Like Albert, never heard of that. But I feel
like I've read it in a book.
That's probably it.
The butler, Albert.
Yeah, Albert or Alfred. It's always one of those two.
It always is.
I just think like him finding those people, and like Tyson, who at first he doesn't even know is his brother, but it's like he almost feels a sense of responsibility for him, and Tyson feels that back towards him. And I think that's kind of like what Camp Half-Blood does. It's like, even though he's like fighting with half the kids for like 80% of the time, we even see with Clarice in like the second season, they're working together because they have a greater goal that's bigger than just themselves. And I think it's that sense of belonging and just like desire to do what's right that really brings them together as demigods, as children of the gods.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you brought up that there was this goal that kind of united them together. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I don't know, I feel like that's how every sort of like organization, and I'm not meaning like a legit organization, but like a group of people gathering together with common views. Like, I think that that's what binds them together. It's a goal. If it's a sports team, right? The goal of the sports team is to win the championship. Mm-hmm. It's to be the first place. The goal of the Olympics, a country that may be in disarray and have issues with each other, when the Olympics come, they're all united because we live in the U.S. The U.S. wants to be number one. We want the most medals. We want to see ourselves.
We're so patriotic.
Above that. Like you're all like, I think goals is what unites people, is what unites organizations, communities. And I think Camp Half-Blood really does that. And I think that even in the activities, in season 2, we saw the chariot race that got interrupted, and, the whole meth and everything. But I think that the reason the Camp Half-Blood has all of this is because it understands that these kids have these dysfunctional families, parents that honestly have abandoned them or have mistreated them or abused them, or just like so many horrible things to these kids. And they've struggled to fit in with the human world because they're not fully human, and humans don't understand the gods, the demigod side of themselves. And the camp realizes this, and it's like, how can we unite these kids? And it's like through goals, through activities, through like trying to be the first place, or trying to make sure your house is the best and everything. I just like kind of love that idea that the sense of belonging comes from united goals. And like, this is found in Percy Jackson, in the movies, in the book, but it's also found in our real life. Like, when we find people around us and we have a united goal, I think that just kind of brings us closer together than just like different goals ever would.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that kind of just goes into the fact that it's like, the fact that he has, like, he's so different, and it's like, that's kind of difficult to navigate. We kind of switched to see Annabeth and Grover have kind of had a similar lifestyle, but not exactly the same as we've said. But we see that their storylines are also, of somewhat of like importance in some type of way. And we see they're not just like supporting characters that are kind of just there to be there. Like a lot of shows and sometimes movies even do this where it's like there's literally a character that's there for like comedic relief, or it's like there's a character that's just there to be the love interest, and that's not what Annabeth is at all, just to be a love interest. And even Grover, even Grover, who like is also kind of like this funny, silly, kind of like laughable character to be like, oh, he's Grover, but it's like he also kind of has his own storyline with trying to find Pan and like his heritage and even just protecting Percy, like, and trying to like have the same common goal. And we see with Annabeth as well, just these side characters that are more than just side characters. They have their own storyline, and I feel like the show does a really good job with that. Sometimes it's like I forget that like Percy, it isn't all about Percy. Sometimes I'm like, oh well, Annabeth, like what's going on with her? What happened over the summer, or like whatever over the year, whatever, or like Grover, where's he at? Like I'm worried about them too, because it's not like they're not some side characters that it's like they have a few seconds of screen time to deliver the like joke of the season, but it's like they actually have like relevance to the storyline.
No, I agree. And as you were talking, what came to my mind, another big magical story that people always kind of compare Percy Jackson to is Harry Potter. Like, do you think that Percy Jackson's side characters, at least the show, like not the books, do you think the show does a better job portraying the side characters as people than Harry Potter?
I think in a way, yes. But also, I think it's the structure of the world building that they kind of did. It's almost like Camp Half-Blood is like, it's like a summer camp. This is where you come away from school. So it's like the storyline is kind of like, it's in a short period of time and a lot happens. But with Harry Potter, Hogwarts is their school. And so they're there for the whole 9 months. And I feel like, and not necessarily in a bad way, but the story really just does focus on Harry, which, like, obviously it all leads to him and it all ends up back at him. But we don't really see Ron and Hermione with much of, like, huge storylines. They kind of do fall into the category of just side characters that support Harry. And we even see Ron kind of, like, in the last movies against that. He's like, I've always been seen as, like, an extension of you, or it's like, I've never really had my own thing. And it's like, it's not necessarily like any bad writing or acting in that kind of manner, but I just think it's just the way the stories are structured and the way, in the end, it was like Harry was the only one that could defeat, Voldemort and all these other villains.
Same with Percy, though.
Same with Percy, but we see the prophecy.
Sorry, spoiler.
Sorry if you haven't read the book. But we see with the prophecy, there's 2 other people. And even in the Lost Hero series, I don't know if you guys have seen that, which is like an extension of it. There's 7 people involved. So it's like, it's more of like, yes, it is about Percy, or like the Lost Hero is about Jason or like whoever, but it's like Harry Potter is almost just about, I mean, the book is literally named after him. Yeah. But it's like, it's more focused on him. So I would, to your question, I would say that the show, at least, I think, does a better job giving the side characters more depth than Harry Potter. But again, like, still love both series. Great job. Kudos to both, regardless.
Yeah. No, I think both, like Harry Potter, we've talked about this multiple times on this podcast. Harry Potter, like, I think is the best one, like the original children's movies that are done and portrayed correctly.
You don't get 8 movies for no reason.
You don't. And I haven't seen anything until
Fast and Furious.
We don't talk about that. I mean, why are we on movie 12?
Yeah,
but I think that Percy Jackson done super well. Very happy with it. But I guess one of the last topics that I think is a huge part of this show and of the book is the gods and their abandonment, and how all the kids are messed up because their parents it's such a dysfunctional family. Somehow they're all kind of related, but technically they're not. And the parents have issues with this parent, or the godparent, like the parents that are gods have issues with other parents that are gods. And it's like the kids have this rivalry that they shouldn't be having, and it's just it's dysfunctional. It's a mess. There's abandonment issues. There's absentee parents, and you see that this shows up in the kids, and we see the kids are dealing with this, and we see that because of this, one of the seemingly antagonists, especially of season 2, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but Luke, right?
Yeah.
Luke is dealing with the sense of the way the gods have treated these demigods, have treated monsters that are also their kids too. Sometimes, like they're all their kids, and they treat some good, some bad. If you do this, you're no longer good. Like they just treat them like disposable chess pieces.
Yeah.
And so we see the kids have decided to take things into their own hands, and even Percy, he's like right now he's been banned from Camp Half-Blood because he decided to go on a quest that was unauthorized. And so like there's just so many things that have happened because the parents have done such evil. And so in my opinion, I think that the true villains are in fact the gods. Like, yes, Kronos is bad and everything, but I don't believe that we would have gotten to where we are right now if the gods were not better role models to their own people. I didn't want to say people because I'm like, that's human, but better people, for lack of a better word, to their own children, to their own, just to people around them, to other gods. And I think that that's so important, that in this world, I think we're dealing with a lot of people that maybe weren't raised right. Maybe there is that sense of abandonment because, I'm kind of thinking like a lot of the issues we have in society right now are like this top 1% that are controlling the whole world and everything. Yeah. But if you think about it, the top 1% a lot of times comes from wealthy families. So you could think of these wealthy families as these gods, and these gods have abandoned their children,
it's a cycle that isn't broken,
for their own wealth. Yeah. And that's what made them that way. So their kids are kind of like their kids suffer, and then they get older, and then they lack morals, and they lack things, and then their kids. And you're right, it's a cycle. And so I think that it's so important. I think if you want to be a parent, you should be a good parent. Otherwise,
or at least try.
Yeah. And I think that trying really matters, because a kid, their life might be hard, but they will. It's not easy to not see effort. Yeah. And I think parents that try, you can always see that effort. Even some of the people come from the poorest of homes, like they literally were homeless for years of their life, but notice that they knew that their mom or dad tried, and they will never disrespect that effort that they saw, and they still love and care for their parents. But I mean, the top 1%, how many of them really love their parents? Not many.
No, but I completely agree, and I think just in general, we see that Luke, his father is Hermes, and even in like the second season, we see like Hermes is trying to be like, well, he's still my son. I still want to protect him, and I care about him. But it's like, where were you all these years when he needed help, when he needed you, and you're showing up finally when he screws up so badly that now you have to step in. And I think, I don't want to be like Luke is right, but I think in some way, shape, and form, like Luke has the right idea, the wrong execution, because it's like the gods have been playing them like fiddles. They've been toying with them, with Camp Half-Blood, with the lesser gods. They've been having wars and, having people fight their wars for them. And so I think at the end of the day, it's really just like, at fault is really the gods. Like at the end of the day, they created Luke. Hermes created Luke, and so did Zeus and Poseidon and Hades and all these people. And yes, Kronos is the big bad villain, but it's like half of the problems they have now wouldn't have happened if they'd just been better parents and actually cared about the children that like they're the fathers or mothers of.
No, I agree. I think that, we can blame the gods for a lot of things. Obviously, Kronos is also a bad parent as well, because he raised the gods bad too. So
it comes back to the parentage.
The cycle again. But I think that the golden rule, I think that that's a great way to end this episode. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And that, I think, goes along with raising children and in parenting. And we see that the gods are the ones, the gods, the titans, the people that are supposed to be the adults have failed their children, and the cycle continues. But sometimes there are people that can break that cycle, and we see someone like Percy, because he had a mother that was such a good role model come, and she was so strong and she was so powerful, and she changed her son for the better, and he's hopefully going to break the cycle, make Camp Half-Blood a better place. And Percy Jackson season 2, season 1 have been so good. I know people have complaints about the adaptation, the race, all of these things, but in my opinion, I think it's being done well, and overall, I see the author, he's trying his best to kind of, even like things that he missed, or like things that were accurate, he's trying to fix all, or inaccurate in the books, he's trying to fix all of that. And so it's a great show. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do. It's on Disney Plus, pretty accessible. But thanks so much for tuning in and listening or watching this episode. If you haven't already, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you aren't, also subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to this on any of our podcasting platforms, make sure to give us a 5-star review, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.